Does anybody feel inspired to share the quote that you have? Yes, go ahead.
The Avatar awakens contemporary humanity to a realization of its true spiritual nature, gives liberation to those who are ready, and quickens the life of the spirit in his time. For posterity is left the stimulating power of his divinely human example, the nobility of a life supremely lived, of a love unmixed with desire, of a power unused except for others, of a peace untroubled by ambition, of a knowledge undimmed by illusion. Meher Baba. I forgot to say, I'm Ralph.
Hi, Ralph.
Again.
Yeah, go ahead, Cliff.
Jai Baba.
Jay Bob.
Even the craving for union with the beloved creates bindings. Therefore, do not bother about separation or union. Just love and love all the more. Meher Baba.
Anybody?
Cliff Hackford
Thank you, Cliff.
is my name.
Anybody notice a theme coming on here? Oh, Angela's got one.
I am standing up. My name's Angela Lee Chen. People aren't reading the number. 32. Quote. In those who contact him, the avatar awakens a love that consumes all selfish desires in the flame of the one desire to serve him. Those who consecrate their lives to him gradually become identified with him in consciousness. Little by little, their humanity is absorbed into his divinity, and they become free. Meher Baba.
You have no idea how much joy it brought me just to collect these quotes and then to print them. And Vanessa's idea was to put the hearts on them. That's Vanessa's love. And so just the process of collecting quotes on love for Baba is an incredible experience. Anybody else on this side want to? Yes.
Susan, number 67. To suffering humanity, I say, have hope. Have hope. I have come to help you in surrendering yourselves to the cause of God and in accepting his grace of love and truth. I have come to help you in winning the one victory of all victories, to win yourself. Meher Baba.
Meher Baba. So beautiful.
I'm Julie Rust.
Hi, Julie.
My first time in the Northeast Gathering.
Yay!
I'm very happy to be here. Baba said, remember me, and I am with you, and my love will guide you.
Marv Winnick. Hi, Marv. Hey, Marv. There is no sadhana greater than love. There is no law higher than love. And there is no goal which is beyond love. For love in its divine state becomes infinite. God and love are identical. And one who has divine love already has God. Meher Baba.
Yaakov, you want to do it?
Yakub, sometimes known as Yaakov. Give more love, and more love. Big hearts always give and give in. Small hearts take and take in. Meher Baba.
Incredible. They're incredible.
My name is Robert,
Hey, Robert.
and this is my second Northeast Gathering this year, and my third one overall. Okay. Oh, number 50. Pure, real, unadulterated love has in it not even a tinge of lust. Lust for sex, lust for power, lust for name, lust for fame, lust for self-comforts, defile the purity of love. Meher Baba.
Oh, you gonna do it, Paul?
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna do it when you're done. I'll do it. You want? No, go ahead. You do it, and then.
My name is Paul, and I'm a Meher Baba addict. This is like my 20th year, so 25 years. I don't know.
You get a chip. We're gonna give you a chip.
He certainly has. Number 3, love has no limit, but the mind is in the way. This obstacle cannot be removed without my grace. It is impossible because mind has to annihilate itself. For example, if you were asked to jump over oneself, the most one could do would be to take a somersault. Yet it is impossible to jump over oneself. One may jump over others, but not over oneself. Thus, one may want to realize Baba as he really is, but the obstacle remains. Books and discourses will not bring about one's spiritual regeneration. Mind cannot be annihilated by mind, for one cannot jump over oneself. Only by loving me as I ought to be loved can the mind be destroyed. Anyone may have love for me, but not the love that I want. My lovers may be likened to one who is fond of lions and admires them so much that he keeps a lion in his own home. But being afraid of the lion, he puts him in a cage. The lion is always encaged. Even while he feeds the lion, he feeds the pet animal from a distance and from outside the cage. Baba is treated like the lion by the lovers. There is love, there is admiration, there is an intense desire to see Baba comfortable and happy, and Baba is also frequently fed by the love of the lovers. But all this is done keeping Baba segregated from one's own self. What is wanted of the lovers is that they should open the cage and through intense love throw themselves inside the cage to become food for the lion of love. The lover should permit himself to be totally consumed through his own love for the beloved. In spite of all explanations and reading of books, words remain mere words. They do not take one any further than intellectual satisfaction. Only love for God works the miracle, because love is beyond mind and reason. When there is necessity to read, I authoritatively say, I am the Ancient One. I have been saying this to all the world. If you love me with all your heart, you shall be made free eternally. Meher Baba.
Meher Baba. All right. I think Paula, and then we'll bring it back up to the front.
Oh, I'm Paula. Lust is the most limited form of love, functioning under the thraldom of ignorance. Meher Baba. Number 19.
Thank you. All right. So that was a warm-up. Got 2 more exercises, and then I know we got an incredible music program, Julie and Rusty Rust. So here's the next thing I'd like us to do. I'm going to ask Cypress to read out a message. I would like to hear from you. Which one of these is the most difficult for you? Which one of these is the easiest for you? We don't all have to answer. It's just an opportunity. And if you want a copy, it's a message you probably know very well. It's called How to Love God. I put a whole bunch of them on Baba Sadra over here, so if you want a little charged How to Love God, I've got a whole bag of them over here. But let's hear the message first, and then let's hear what your thoughts are on it.
Hi guys, I'm Cypress, as you may have heard. Okay, How to Love God by Meher Baba. To love God in the most practical way is to love our fellow beings. If we feel for others in the same way as we feel for our own dear ones, we love God. If, instead of seeing faults in others, we look within ourselves, we are loving God. If, instead of robbing others to help ourselves, we rob others to help others, we are loving God.
Can you read that one again?
If, instead of robbing others to help ourselves, we rob ourselves to help others, we are loving God. If we suffer in the sufferings of others and feel happy in the happiness of others, we are loving God. If instead of worrying over our own misfortunes, we think ourselves more fortunate than many others, we are loving God. If we endure our lot with patience and contentment, accepting it as His will, we are loving God. If we understand and feel that the greatest act of devotion and worship to God is not to hurt or harm any of His beings, then we are loving God. To love God as He ought to be loved, we must live for God and die for God, knowing that the goal of life is to love God and find Him as our own self.
Hey, Baba. Was that enough to go on, or do you need a printed copy to answer the question? Which one of those is the hardest for you? Which one is the easiest? I can answer for myself because I've been thinking about it. The hardest one for me is about finding faults in others. I seem to be really good at finding faults in others, and I can't seem to stop it. But the easiest one for me is if you feel the love for others as you feel for your own dear ones. That seems to flow pretty naturally for me. But how about you? How do you feel about it? What do you think and feel? Which ones are hard? Which ones are easy? Yeah.
We have a file already.
Yaakov.
We didn't give him the mic.
I think that there's so much strife in the world, and strife that touches me personally. So I have sort of a connection to one side of the strife. It's so hard to love the other side of the strife. Like I can feel compassion, but to love them is a big leap for me. Yeah, it's a big leap, and it's still something. Sometimes I can, like if I just forget about that they're in some structure in my mind, they're on the other side. They're just people who have mothers, people who have children who have parents, I can feel their pain. But I don't know if I've made the leap to love them, It's a hard one.
It's really hard, yeah. Can I respond to that? I think Erich once said something like this, where somebody was talking about how they can't do, what they feel Baba wants them to do. And Erich said, well, could you pray to Baba to want to love, to want that, even though you don't experience it? Can you start there? And they said, yes, I could start there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Who else? Anybody want to share?
Okay, I'm Roberta.
Hi, Roberta.
Hi.
The hardest one for me is if we endure our lot with patience and contentment, accepting it as His will, we are loving God.
Do you want to share more about why that's difficult?
Yes, sure, I can do that. There's an old Bible story about Jacob wrestling the angel. I don't know if you know that story.
I do.
Okay.
That's how he got his name changed to Israel.
That's right. And I've always felt that part of my loving God was wrestling with God, asking the hard questions, not quite accepting life with patience and contentment. So that, for me, is just an ongoing journey. So,
should we change your name to Israela?
Probably.
Are you guys married?
Yes, we are.
I sort of caught on because as soon as you started talking, he started chuckling.
Yeah, well, he knows I'm telling the truth.
That's what spouses are for.
Right.
And then what's the easy one?
The easier one for me is if we suffer in the suffering of others and feel happy in the happiness of others, we are loving God.
Beautiful. Thank you. Another one? You ready for the third? Oh, go ahead. Okay.
So the difficult one for me is if we understand and feel that the greatest act of devotion and worship to God is not to hurt or harm any of His beings, we are loving God.
You want to talk about who you want to harm?
Oh, absolutely.
You and me have to have a beer because I have a whole list.
Oh, dude. No, honestly, why this is difficult for me is because every day in what I do, I have to make very, very difficult decisions. And they do ultimately hurt people, okay? And my Baba side to me knows that this is all his Leela, right? But they don't necessarily know that, right? And so you have to let people go, or you have to make tough decisions about what could literally change a man or woman's family, their dynamics, right? And it's difficult because I've seen what happens, and sometimes it leads them to better things, greener pastures, and sometimes it doesn't. And I've seen people hit the bottle and what have you. And you get that sort of responsibility, yet you know it's all Baba. But how to deliver that message without hurting them, how to get them to understand that you love them so much, but you might have to let them go.
Wow.
It's difficult for me. It's being a Baba lover is very, very difficult for me, and I'm trying to balance that every day.
Can you tell us what the easy one is?
The easy one is actually what we just said. We endure our lot with patience and contentment, accepting as His will, we are loving God. The first part, the patience part, I still do have a problem with, but the contentment part, I'm good with because I've seen so much in my time now, 62 years on the planet, and I know it's all Baba, and I've come to thank Him even for the bad, the ugly, the what have you. He's already made me wave the white flag. Yeah, you know what I mean?
That's the surrender talk. You're jumping ahead.
Oh, sorry. Well, you did say we would always, but that's the easy one for me because He's just pounded me into the ground. So
Thank you. All right. Can you hold it, please? All right, I think we're ready for the last bit. How am I doing with time? I know I've got a limited time. What time is it? Do we got a few more minutes? All right, good. I have a story to tell you. 20 years ago, I had an inspiration. I was reading the message, 12 Ways of Realizing Me. Some of you have seen this message. It's in that universal message that they gave out at the... She's got those too. Another shameless plug from Angela. She's got those. Yeah, and so in that 12 Ways of Realizing Me, which was one of the first things I ever read, it's an incredible message. It's certainly worth revisiting. We're not going to revisit it right now, but when you read that, it's so powerful. 12 Ways of Realizing. I saw it as a spinal column. 12 ways. I saw it vertically as a spinal column. And I was having a conversation with Alan Cohen, which is a whole nother story I don't want to get into. I said, Alan, I see these 12 ways as a spinal column, and on each side of the spinal column, and Vanessa can tell you about spinal columns, she knows more about it than I do. On each side of the spinal column, it can go out of alignment so that the spinal column is not healthy. It becomes either deficient on one side or toxic on the other side. And I had this whole vision. I don't know if, Phil, can you see that in the camera? Yep. I had this whole vision of how this spinal column of 12 ways of realizing me you could use as a self-assessment tool and ask yourself, is my love feeling healthy? Is my love feeling deficient? Is my love feeling toxic? And I did this for each one of the 12 ways. And Alan looked at me, he's got a PhD if that makes you feel any better. And he said, you got to do this, you got to write this up. So I started writing it up. I did it with surrender first. So the first spinal column I did was surrender. Tonight you're going to be the first people I do the love, what do you call it, a vertebrae if it's a single one? You guys know more about it than I do. So what I want to do, and humor me if you would, Vanessa's got beautiful markers here. I had this printed here in Warwick, so I'm supporting the local economy. And I want you to take a marker, if you would, and write on this. Be free. That's the whole point. And what it's going to mean is think or feel. What does healthy love look like to you? What does deficient love look like to you? What does toxic love look like to you? I'll give you an example because we were just talking about it over dinner. True story, another teaser for my talk tomorrow. Don Stevens was in a relationship. He brought that relationship to Baba, literally. They're at Marazad walking with Baba. At some point, Baba had Don separated from the other person and said to Don, look, I know your nature. You're going to go to any length to keep this relationship healthy. But I also know his nature. And I want you to promise me something. If this relationship starts to undermine your physical health, I want you to turn your back on it and don't look back. And he said, I didn't know why he was saying this to me. But he said, he used to call me Little Bear. He said, Little Bear, it turned out exactly the way Baba said. And it got worse and worse and worse. And I had to ask myself, because I remembered my promise, I had to ask myself, is this undermining my physical health? And he said, and it was. It was. And I had to say to him, I can't continue this relationship. He said, but I never told him what Baba said. So don't tell anybody who it was because he would be crushed if he heard it. He's still alive. Don't tell anybody who it was. So I won't tell anybody. But it's a powerful story. And for me, that is toxic love. It means there was no doubt in my mind that they loved each other. No doubt. But something wasn't right and it started to pull down the health. Is that a good example? I think so. So I'm going to put that on here first. And what I want you to do is come up. I know it's a little bit feng shui awkward, but come up if you can somehow and write on here like undermines my health. That's an example for me of a toxic type of love. And if you're feeling bashful, I've got all these different colors. Do you like purple? Do you like green? Maybe red? Come on up. Do you get the idea? It's an audience participation. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this up as part of my work in the book I'm working on right now, which is Love with Beloved Baba.
I think you were channeling Harry Kenmore.
Oh, Parvardagar!
Subluxation of the spine.
The preserver and protector of all. Am I doing good? Is that Harry?
Yeah, that was loud. That was loud.
All right, that's a bit easier for everyone to write on. All right, cool.
It's also self-effacing. Watch. No, there's a question on the floor. Are we only doing deficient? No, we're doing any one we feel drawn to do. You can do more than one. I've got more than one color. As many as you want. And then we're going to read them out and discuss them.
How you doing here?
I'm going to come through.
Give them back here. Nobody wants
See you right now.
Ooh, deficient. I see bitterness. Bitterness toward people. Oh. Bitterness toward people I don't agree with. Wow. Politically. Bitterness toward people I don't agree with politically. Let's give them a round of applause. That's vulnerable. That is beautiful. Oh, healthy. I see supported. Healthy, supported. Healthy, boundaries. Healthy. Listen, equal time. Who did that one?
Me.
Can you tell us a little bit about that at some point?
Sure. I don't
Okay.
have much experience with it, but yes.
Yeah. Well,
He
Well,
doesn't know what it is, but he knows what it is.
we'll hear about it.
Okay.
Ooh, toxic, stretched beyond stable spot. Beautiful. Ooh, healthy, uplifts the heart. Healthy, compassionate listening. Ooh, deficient, one-sided. This is interesting. Deficient says, pushes me to go deeper to find it. Ooh, toxic says hypercritical. Hypercritical of others.
Never.
Okay, I'll use this. Oh my goodness, this is a Lalo.
Yeah,
Lalo?
Yeah.
Lalo's gotta go to
Depending on who you are.
Deficient, giving excessively. Deficient love, giving excessively. Beautiful. I've got purple. All right, there we go. I've got red, blue, black, yellow. There we go. Here we go. We got to take her. Here we go. Toxic love, we've got lack of reflection creates internal insecurity. Toxic has expectation in reciprocity, and failure to meet leads to resentment. Oh, somebody wrote in giant letters under toxic, codependence. That's your color. That's your color.
Oh, you're asking me? Expectation and reciprocity. Like expecting for to reciprocate and they don't, and you get like upset with them because it's not like. Yeah, expectation for sure.
We've got fear-based and deficient. Fear-based. Deficient love is fear-based. Oh, somebody put in healthy, balanced, give and take. Balanced, give and take. This is an interesting one. Toxic says, remembering my happiness before others. Toxic love, remembering my happiness before others. Very interesting. Very interesting. Somebody asked if this is like a dooney. I don't think the plastic will burn, but think of it like a dooney. Sure. I saw in toxic self-absorption. Toxic love has self-absorption. Ooh, healthy love. Remembering that God is the inner dweller of all. Remembering that God is the inner dweller in all. That's healthy love. Healthy love leads to joy. I see leads to joy. I see cherishing in healthy love. Oh, I see at the top, serves with joy. Healthy love serves with joy. Wow, I see at the top, healthy love, letting go into empathetic acceptance. I see open-hearted in healthy love. Ooh, I see manipulative in toxic love. Manipulative in toxic love. This is experience. This is experience and wisdom here on this board. Oh, I see in healthy love, accepting people as they are. That's really difficult for me, so I need to hear that. Accepting people as they are. My tendency is to think about what can I do to shift that person. Then I got to say, wait a second. What am I doing to shift myself? Right? So accepting people as they are. That's a really good one. Oh, in healthy love, I see work hard to love every day. I see in healthy love, mutual and reciprocal. By the way, everybody give everybody else a round of applause. You all got up here. This is remarkable. Now, I never know if this is going to work. Sometimes I think this is going to fall flat and people are going to say, what is this? I don't think you guys did that. You seem to totally get the exercise. Now, look at this for a second. This is all your love and wisdom and probably pain on this board. So one time in Marazad, somebody came, saw Baba. Of course, in Marazad, eventually you have to go. Baba would sometimes give people 5 minutes, sometimes sorry about that. Sometimes an hour, whatever. Eventually it was time to go. And they They were leaving and they stopped at the threshold and turned back and said, "Oh, Baba, thank you for all the joy and for all the pain." Baba said, "Thank me only for the pain."
Yeah.
You said that a little too loud there, buddy. You're feeling that, huh? Yeah. So, is this interesting and helpful in any way? In what way? Okay, let's hear some thoughts and feelings, because I love these exercises. Could you see a whole 12 of these as a self-assessment tool and as a vertebrae, a spiritual vertebrae, which it would be great to get healthy, but I'm not like healthy on everything. I'm still working on this, right? Would it help identify maybe some areas, room for growth?
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Break it down into more subcategories.
It does? Oh, you could keep going and going on this, right?
Yeah, it's like a tree. You can branch out in many dimensions.
Actually, what that is,
Yes.
it's an expression of real love. Because love is everything.
Can you say more about that?
Everything that you can possibly think of. Everything we experience is love because God is love. God is everything. That's all there is God. So that is all there is.
But like my quote, some of it sits in the place of ignorance.
But that too is love.
Yes, that's what it is.
I want to make sure this gets on the video because we didn't have the microphone.
Everything is love. Everything, no matter where it sits. Everything we think, everything we feel, everything everybody thinks and everybody feels, that's love because it's all God. That's all there is God, and God is love.
Beautiful. Did you want the mic? Who wants the mic? Oh, Jeff. We haven't heard from you today, Jeff. What do you got, Jeff?
Jay Baba,
Jay Baba.
if I saw that on a sheet with the words that people have put down so lovingly, it would give me insight as to where I'm holding and where I'm giving love. Those insights that people shared there, as I say, if I saw that much more clearly placed as a self-assessment, where am I at? The various honest revelations that people shared there, it would put me in touch with where my spiritual vertebra, so to speak, are aligned and not so aligned.
Could you see why I might want to put this in my next book?
Yes. Oh, sure. Yes, very much so.
Because the honest truth is, I never know who would benefit. But if even one soul would benefit, it's worth it, isn't it? So I was reminded of a joke. Oh, yeah. You want to do it?
So to be clear, I had no way of knowing you were doing this tonight, correct?
Yeah, we had a little side conversation about my exact exercise.
I'm
teasing him.
So you bring up chiropractic, adjusting vertebra, right?
Yeah.
My dear friend and brother, Bobby Gardino, right? Chiropractor was my Baba connection. And like I said, I travel a lot. So I would call him up, and that's why I put that one right there. It pushes me to go deeper to find it. I would call him up because I'd be fighting with my wife, long distance on the phone. I'd call him up and say, Bobby, Christina did this, and then she did, and she's a... And he would say, but Polly, boy, he says, you have to love her, Polly. Bro, you're not loving her enough. I said, don't you hear what I'm telling you? You're my brother. I'm sitting there pouring my... You have to love her, Polly. You're not loving her enough. I'm like, you're not even married. What would you know? I'm telling you, bro. And I would hang up on him, slam the phone down. Son of a bitch. And I drive for a while, and I think about it. And then the prayer comes. Beloved God, help us all to love you more and more and more and more and still yet more. All right? So that inspired me. Chiropractic brought it back. Thank you.
Thank you. And your comment reminded me of something that I think might be a good note to end on. I don't know how much time we have left. A few more minutes? I want to save time for the music. Okay, a couple more minutes. I'm going to remember my daughter. She was about 4 or 5 years old. We're driving in Arizona. I used to live in Arizona. She's in her car seat, so she's really small. I'm driving, minding my own business. And from the back seat, this is before you were born, from the back seat, she just says, "Daddy, everything is God." Just like you were saying, right? And this is the way I always dealt with my kids, right? So I said, "Really? Are you sure? Everything?" There's a long, pregnant pause. She goes, "Actually, not everything." I said, "Really? What's not God?" She said, "Wigs." Even Phil's laughing at that one. So I want to shift gears for a second and end on this note, which will be another teaser to buy the Love book. The book is going to be called Love with Beloved Baba. Vanessa's co-author. We've got a lot of co-authors in there, contributing authors. But I'm going to end on this note. Doug, you and I were together at SUNY New Paltz. I was brand new to Baba. I didn't know anything about anything. I didn't know who Adi Kairani was. I didn't know what a sanskara was, nothing. But I was in Doug's shadow. I knew that was a good place to be. And so I was standing next to Doug all the time. He said, "I'm going to SUNY New Paltz. We're going to set up a table for the university students." So I thought, I'm going to listen to this. I don't know if you remember that. But we're at SUNY New Paltz. He's got this table full of Baba stuff, and I'm just green as can be. And these very serious means like ardent. They weren't serious. They were very friendly, happy, ardent Christians who were living, they felt, the way Jesus would want them to live, like very living the life of Jesus. And they were challenging Doug. And I was just witness. And I thought, this is great. And they were saying, well, how could he really be the Christ come again, and all this. And Doug said beautiful things, and I remember it all, but I don't want to get to that. I want to get to the punchline, which is that he said, well, have you seen Baba's message? And they looked at the message. And they start reading it out loud to each other because they were so impressed by Baba. And there's a bunch of them, and I can tell they love Jesus. And one of them says, look at this. It says, "You have asked for and been given enough words. It is now time to live them." And they looked at each other and like that. They started going, yeah. And they're agreeing with Baba, and all the wind is coming out of their sails, and their boat's now just like sitting on the water, and they're looking at each other and they're looking at us. And Doug is saying things like, well, if you're so sure he's not the Christ, how will you know when the Christ comes? And then they looked at each other and they're like, yeah, how would we know? And they're looking at Baba's picture, and he looks like Jesus, and they're like, what is going on here? It was an incredible experience. Anyway, so to change off the words for a second, because we've had a lot of time with words today, the first chapter in the book is about actions. And I spent some time contemplating, feeling, thinking, what did Baba do? Because he exemplified divine love. What did he do? So I, of course, that's what Lord Meher is, 20 volumes of what he did. But that wasn't the point. It was, what did he do that I could say in a book to somebody who made, some of the books that, I wrote, it's somebody's first Baba book. That's terrifying, right? Their first Baba book is something I wrote. But if I put the right stuff in there, it might be a great thing. So I put in there things that I feel are universally Baba's divine love. Here's one that, let's try it on and see what you think. After Baba's horrible accident in Oklahoma, Mara, Baba's beloved, was thrown out of the vehicle, and she had according to Dr. Burleson, not a minor, but a major fracture of her skull. He said he'd never seen a fractured skull so bad in his life. He was completely surprised that she lived or that she could recover. He said it was like somebody had dropped an egg. The shell had cracked so badly. And so it was horrifying, right? So she recuperated first in Oklahoma, and then she recuperated in Myrtle Beach at Yukon Dunes. And while they were still recuperating, she had bandages on her head and all this. And Baba was caring for her. The women, the Western women, Mandali, and some of the Eastern were there caring for her. And at some point, Baba was trying to arrange a outing for them, Mara and the women, to have some relief from being recuperating in a room, basically. And he asked Baba asked Rano, isn't there something besides, movies, films? Isn't there something besides cinema? Baba knew, of course, what was going on, but he allowed Rano to look. So she's looking in the paper, what else can they do? And lo and behold, there's a horse show. And Mara's a horse lover. So he says, oh, good, let's go to the horse show. So he tells Mara, I've got a surprise for you, right? So one of the first things that she was able to see after this horrific accident, when they take off the bandages and they're coming out of recuperation, is they go to a horse show with Baba. And he's got his cast on. It's like kind of dramatic. But Mara said, Baba would point to the different horses and say, look at that one. What do you think of that horse there? Oh, look how that one. And he was totally involved. He wasn't aloof. He wasn't detached. He was with her in her experience. And she said it was so loving, so sweet. Is that a good story? Yeah. That's in the book. But there's a whole bunch of these stories. And my point is, I love the words, or else I wouldn't have put them on your chairs. I love the exercise, or else we wouldn't have done it. And it's now time to live them. Jai Baba, thank you very much.